In a war where violations of humanitarian law have become the norm, this attack on a vital aid convoy for hungry and exhausted civilians on the outskirts of Aleppo is a new low. This eyewitness from the civilian rescue teams known as the White Helmets described the scene.
More than 20 vehicles, 20 trucks full of food and flour and medicine and pampers and blankets.
The aid worker holds up the remains of nappies meant for babies in the midst of Syria's war. His name is Omaar. Immediately as the bombing began, he notified the Red Crescent that their warehouse and the convoy had been hit. They in turn told the Syrian government, but he claims their planes carried on bombing.
This was no accident.
He told me he thinks it was intentional.
The regime still sent aircraft to shield this place. 8 of targeting this place, 8 hours. After 8 barrel bombs, 2 cluster bombs, and the aircraft shield this place with bullets.
But Russia, whose air force supports the Assad regime, has released this footage from one of its drones. Purporting to show the aid trucks lined up, it highlights what it claims is a vehicle with militants and a mortar accompanying the convoy. But this vehicle could also have been passing by the parked trucks. However, the UN has now changed its language, saying it can no longer verify it was an airstrike, instead describing it as an attack. This change of language is significant because the only forces who could have carried out an airstrike are Russia and Syrian government forces. The attacks took place in the opposition-held town of Umm al-Kubra in rural western Aleppo. An aid convoy of 31 trucks arrived at the Syrian Arab Red Crescent warehouse just before midday local time to deliver supplies for 78,000 people in the area. At 6 p.m, the Syrian military announced that the 7-day ceasefire was over, and just an hour later, the convoy came under attack. 18 trucks and the warehouse were destroyed. The aid was meant for the western part of Aleppo. The situation in the rebel-held eastern part of the city, which has been cut off and besieged for months, is even worse. I spoke with a local professor who's been updating us from the city.
These people don't find anything to eat. Yesterday, exactly 5 people were poisoned by eating outdated food. When the doctors said, "Oh my God, don't you know that these foods were outdated?" They said, "What should we do? We don't have anything to eat."
A little over a week ago, Aleppo's children were enjoying the all-too-brief moment of calm the ceasefire brought. Now they're once again subjected to a conflict in which all sides seem not to care who is wounded or killed. Rageh, Omaar News at 10.